I'm getting notes of creme brulee, my grandma's apple fritter. So tasty. Whiskey is a complex and a nuanced spirit, and tasting it can be rich and rewarding. Whether you're a rookie, first time tasting whiskey, or you're an experienced whiskey drinker, this video is for you. And today we're gonna learn how to taste whiskey like a pro. So the first ingredient you need is, well, it's whiskey. Let's go grab some. So when you're selecting your whiskey, as a beginner, you're gonna wanna stick to the lower proof spirits. I recommend anything 45% or below, or else it's just gonna taste like nothing but burn unless you're coming from another area of spirit drinking, such as rum or gin, and you're used to that stuff. There is a wall that's talked about in whiskey, which is you just kind of gotta start drinking it. And at first, you might just taste nothing but burn as it burns in your tongue and your throat, but as you continue doing it, as long as you wanna be drinking this stuff, you will come to a point where you actually start to love the taste. The burn goes away, at least for the most part, and you actually start to taste those delicious, nuanced flavors that whiskey has to offer. Today, we're gonna be demonstrating how to taste whiskey with the Redbreast 12 year. Oh yeah. Now the glass where you choose actually has quite a bit of influence on what you're gonna taste and mainly smell when tasting the whiskey. Now you'll probably see a lot of whiskey professionals and whiskey YouTubers using these tulip-shaped glasses. Now these are called Glencairn glasses, and the advantage of these is it actually directs the aromas up, and that allows you to detect a lot more of those subtle nuances and aromatics of the whiskey. And actually most of your taste is through your smell, so this actually enhances the taste as well. Now this next step is optional, but a lot of people like to just take a look at their whiskey. Put it up to a good light, maybe a white background, and just observe the color of the whiskey. Is it amber? Is it a pale gold? Or is it dark? Is it really rich and dark and almost dark brown? When you take a look at the color, it can actually tell you a lot about the whiskey. Scotches and Irish tend to be a lot lighter in color, where bourbon tends to be a lot darker. Now this is not a definite rule. It all depends on cask selection, how long it's been aged, but sometimes you just gotta take a second and appreciate that color. Now the next step is to smell the whiskey. Now I don't recommend skipping this step because this actually enhances your experience a lot. Where color is kind of subjective, if you have the time to do it, whatever, you really wanna take the time to smell the whiskey. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna bring it slowly up to your nose. Now you're gonna be breathing in kind of through your nose and with your mouth open at first. And this is gonna allow that air to pass through the canals and make the experience a lot more pleasant for you. Now that is not a definite rule. A lot of people actually prefer going back and forth, opening your mouth, closing your mouth, and experimenting with the two. Now I found when I was getting into whiskey, there's actually a lot less of that ethanol burn when your mouth is open. Now with that being said, when you are nosing this, you want to get pretty much to that point to where that burn starts to get uncomfortable. And then you're going to pull away and just think about what you just smelled. Does it remind you of honey, spices, maybe a little bit of oak and caramel in there? Or does it remind you of a place or an experience that you've done? Maybe it's the beach, maybe it evokes a memory. Let those ideas flow. There is no wrong answer here. Now the next step is my favorite part, for good reason, and that is when we get to drink the whiskey. When you drink whiskey, it's not something that you slam like a shot. Unless you're in college and you're taking shots of Fireball, we like to appreciate these fine spirits. And the way to do that is by taking small sips. You don't want to drink your entire glass in 1 minute, 2 minutes. You want to savor it over the course of 15, 30, 40, even an hour. It doesn't matter. Just enjoy that spirit in front of you and make sure you're in no rush. So we're going to start with taking a small sip and letting that roll slowly to the back of your tongue. And take a moment and think about what you just tasted. Was it honey, dried fruit, baking spices, chocolate, maybe even some wood in there? Whatever you just tasted, try to put that to a word in your brain. And that's going to train your brain in the future to start picking up these tasting notes as well. Now as you're tasting the whiskey, also be sure to pay attention to the mouthfeel and texture in your mouth. Is it really oily and heavy, or is it light and delicate? That is a good representation of the type of distilling process that actually came through. Really heavily and oily whiskey typically comes from hop stills with angled down condensers, such as Glenfarclas. This actually allows the alcohol, when it's distilled, to carry a lot of those grain characters and flavors and oils with them, and that gets captured in the whiskey when you drink it. Now after you've swallowed the whiskey, pay attention to the finish. How long does it last? Are there any evolutions in flavors from when you initially tasted it? Or is it short and one-noted? Is the aftertaste pleasant? Or is it unpleasant? This finish can be a good indicator of the whiskey's overall quality and also your personal taste. Now some bonus points. Some people even like to cleanse their palate between sips to see if they can pick up different tasting notes between each sip. So give it a shot and see if it works for you. Now this is also a fun experiment to do after you fully tasted that whiskey from its initial point. It's actually pretty helpful to add a little bit of water. This actually causes a chemical reaction in the whiskey and creates the oils to separate and almost float to the top. And that next sip you get is almost going to be an enhanced flavor, really rich of what you've actually been getting previously in the whiskey. But just a few drops is all you need to get it done. Let that sit for about 30 seconds and then we're going to give it a try. I've never had a whiskey where I've added a few drops of water and it's made it worse. So that's a fun experiment to do. Try it with friends and see if people notice a difference. Now at first these things might seem kind of weird, but as you continue to do them over time, you'll get really good at adapting these techniques. You'll become a pro. Now be sure to subscribe so you see my next video, which is going to be how to compare two whiskeys. What? Double the fun. That's right. So subscribe, like, follow, share with your friends. Leave a comment below. How did I do? Guys, this is my first video and I hope to keep making them. So give me some feedback, constructive feedback, mean feedback, nice feedback. I don't care. Give me some feedback. But it was good having you here today and cheers.